Hi guys, Manan this side. Hope you're doing good. Okay, so today let's talk about operator overloading. Let's just get the basic idea of what operator overloading is. So it's a concept which allows us to give more than one functionality to an operator. So let's take an example of an operator that is addition. So you know that you can add two integer values, you can add two float values, and you can also concatenate two strings. If you have two string arguments, you can concatenate those strings. Okay. So why do we need operator overloading? You know that you can use these operators, that is addition and many more operators are there. You can use these operators with the predefined data types. We have integer, float, and many more. So what about user-defined data types? Like objects. Objects are user-defined data types. So let me just take an example. We have object 1, we have object 2. So do you think we would be able to use addition operator with these? Well, this concept allows us to do so. So there are some operators which can be overloaded and there are some which cannot be overloaded. Let's just see first which can be overloaded, and we have unary, and the second we have binary. So unary are those which are having one operand, and similarly binary in which we are having two operands. So now let's see which cannot be overloaded because there's a big list. And first we have dot operator, second we have size of operator, third we have type ID operator, and fourth we have dot star operator, and fifth we have ternary operator, and we cannot overload another operator, that is scope resolution operator. You have to remember these six, that we cannot overload these operators. So let's talk about those which we can overload. So let's talk about unary operators. We have post and pre-increment, we have post and pre-decrement, and we have minus operator. So in this program, let's just talk about unary as of now. So let's take an example of coordinates. We have class coords, and in that I am defining two values. We have integer x and y, right? So these are in private section, and in public let's define default constructor, and in that let's just give initial values to it. X equals to, let's say we have 5, right? And y equals to, let's say we have 6. So these are the coordinates. So I'm giving two values x and y. So let me just make a function that will show these values, right? So we have cout, and we have to give the syntax according to the coordinate system. So I'll be writing like this. So x, we have x, and then we have to use comma, and then after that we have to write y, and then we have to give space, and sorry, we have to give this. So this is what syntax that we would be having in our display. And let's just terminate this. Yeah, so this is our void show function. And now see, now we would be writing our operator overloading concept. We'll be seeing this concept from here. So the first let's see the syntax. So first we would be writing a return type for this overload function. So the return type, let's take it as class name, right? And after that we would be using our operator keyword, and after that we will be using the operator sign, let's say I'm using plus plus operator, and then parenthesis closed, and then in that let's make an object. So how we make an object? Class name and then object name. Let's take as temp, right? So what we'll be doing here is we'll be writing temp.x equals to plus plus x, that is pre-increment. Similarly, what we'll be writing in the next line is temp.y is equal to plus plus y, and we'll be returning, obviously we have to return our object, right? Okay, so this was the pre-increment operator function. But what about post increment? Because we have to use plus plus for both. So there is a specific syntax for that. Just focus a little bit on it. We are going to write in parentheses, we are going to write int. So there's no parameter in this parenthesis, so please don't get confused. This is just to show the compiler that yeah, this line, this function is for the post increment, and similarly for the post decrement also we'll be writing int in these parentheses. But when we are writing for pre increment or pre decrement, we won't be writing anything. So the compiler would be able to differentiate between those. So let's just copy it and we can add it afterwards so that we won't be doing so much of work, right? So cards temp and temp.x, and now it's plus plus afterwards because it's post increment. Return obviously temp because we have the return type is class. And now let's just write that is our pre-increment, right? So okay, sorry, we just have to copy it. So in place of this addition, we have to just write subtraction for decrement. So I guess rest of the things we have to keep it similar. And the next we have our operator keyword and then minus minus, and then remember that for post you have to write as this syntax. You have to remember this, that for post, whether it's increment, decrement, it doesn't matter. For post operator, you have to write int in this parenthesis. And one more time, I wanted to tell you that please don't get confused that this int is some parameter in this parenthesis. No, it's just to tell the compiler that yeah, wherever this int is written, that means that function is for post, whether it's increment or decrement, right? So let's just copy it again and we'll be editing here and minus minus after the x and similarly after this. So at last we are left with one operator, only one operator, that is single minus, yeah, right, and nothing in the parenthesis. And let's just copy it, let's just paste it, and here we don't have to write any extra thing, just this. Okay, so I guess we are done with all the functions. Let me just show you once again. We have our chords as class. We are writing int xy in private and in public. I have defined a default constructor, and in that I have initialized some values for x and y. For x equals to 5, y equals to 6. And then we have void show function to just to print the values of x and y so that we can see what operator overloading concept is doing. And here we have operator plus plus, that is our, let me just write here also pre sorry increment, and this is post increment, and similarly this is pre decrement, and this is post decrement. right? So yeah, we are left with this also. Let's just say it's minus. Okay, so we are left with the main function right now. Okay, we have to close the class also. Then we have our main function, and in that, let's just write. Okay. We haven't write the header file also, so let's just write that before include iostream.h, and let me just write conio header file also because I'm used to it. I'm used to use clear screen, and then I also use kitch just to hold the output. It's just my habit. So we have coordinates class, coords class, sorry. So let's just make two objects, one to store the value and one on which we can operate with these operators. So firstly, let's just write, okay, we'll be printing for prefix, right? Prefix, and it is prefix increment, right? So let's write it is prefix increment and then and L for the next line. And then before overloading, and then we'll be calling with any you can use any object because there's nothing wrong with it. You can also use C2, but I'm going to use C1, and we'll be calling show function. So it will be showing the initial value before overloading, right? So now what we have to do is we have to just write after overloading, and now we have to do our operator, we have to use our operator overloading concept. So we have write the functions for that, but here also let me just write. Okay, so for pre-increment I'm gonna write like this. Hope it's clear. There's no rocket science in it. So C1 equals to plus C2. So value of C2 will be incremented first and then it will be stored in C1. So we can write C1 dot show just to get the value after overloading, right? Okay. So this is the basic syntax. We can just copy it so that we don't have to write it again. Okay, so I just have to use postfix increment and before overloading C1. Okay, we have to change this. And one thing now you have to focus on, like before in pre-increment operator, you have used is and you have used C1 operator to call the show function. But here, if you see here, if you use the C1 operator to call the show function, so it will be showing the previous value only, not after overloading value, because the C2 value would be directly stored in C1 before incrementing. That's what post increment is. So now if you want to see the after overloading value, that value we would be getting after overloading, so you would have to use C2.show, right? So this is the thing. And in the post decrement also, you just have to remember this, otherwise you're fine. Okay, so let's just paste it. And here we have prefix, and instead of increment, we have decrement. And just to get the initial value, we have to use C2 here as the initial, like the final value for after overloading value of postfix increment. We have used C2 here. So for getting initial value, we have to use C2 here for before overloading. It's nothing complicated. So here, let me just change the operator, and here we can use C1 here, right, as its prefix decrement, and I guess everything else is fine. And let me just paste it again, and we can use it for postfix decrement. And I guess everything is fine here. We just have to change this value, and I guess we are just left with the minus operator. And we just have to use minus operator here, and let's just write c1 dot show and c1 dot show for before overloading. So okay, so if we want to get the last value, we have to use c2 here. I guess it's clear, it's nothing major. We just have to use the initial like the final value as initial value. So let me just compile it. Okay, it's showing an error. Okay, I'm sorry. I forgot that I've used conio.h and I have to use get.ch. Okay, it's my habit, but I don't know what happened. So after running C, we are getting the value. So let's see the first statement. We have prefix increment. So 5,6 is the initial value. So before overloading, obviously we would be getting to see this value 5,6. So it's the initial value. And after overloading, it is incremented 1 by 1 in each x and y. Like for both x and y, it is incremented. So 5,6 is incremented to 6,7. Similarly, for postfix increment, before overloading value is 6,7. That is a final value for prefix increment after overloading. So it's the initial value for postfix increment before overloading. And after overloading, the value was incremented by 1 in each x and y, in both in x and y. So in the prefix decrement, if we see that the initial value is 7,8, and after overloading, it is decremented by 1 for both x and y. So it's 6,7 now. And if we see postfix decrement, now before overloading, obviously it would be the final value. The above final value would be the initial value for this. And after overloading, it is decremented by 1 for both x and y. Obviously, as we are using the coordinate system here. So, and for minus, before overloading, it is 5,6, and after overloading, both values x and y are negative now. So this was the program. I hope it's clear. It was nothing major. It was not complicated. Still, if you are having any doubt, you can write in the comment section. And in the next video, we'll be seeing the binary operators overloading. In this video, we have seen unary operator overloading, that we had plus plus post and pre, minus minus post and pre, and the single minus. So that's it for today. We'll be seeing the binary operator overloading in the next video. Till then, goodbye.